Welcome to 1.5 days of, I won't call it an orientation, neither I will call it, some kind of a capacity building. It's basically an interactive session on sustainable development goals. You must have heard, about sustainable development goal, UN sustainable development goal. There are certain targets that needs to be met by 2030. And one of your senior colleague from the planning department is here. So UNDP has worked very closely with the planning department of Government of Meghalaya on sustainable development goals. So the session today, what we are going to cover, today we will have 5 sessions. The first will be an introduction to what sustainable development goal is, which I will be taking the session. Then the second session is on what sustainable development goal in India, what is the current status and how is being implemented by Government of India, how is being monitored. That session will be led by my colleague Prayashi. The third session is on multi-dimensional poverty index. How do you measure poverty, which is directly linked to sustainable development goals? That will be facilitated by my colleagues Mithun and Munmi. The fourth session we have SDGs in the Northeast. UNDP along with NITI Aayog and Ministry of Donor has been working very closely with all the state governments here in the Northeast to find out what is the current implementation of SDGs in each of the districts. So there are 129 districts. Of course, the number keeps on changing. Different state governments, they curve out new districts. But in the last assessment that we have done assessment of 129 districts, of which the report has been prepared for 120 districts, where the data is available for more than 80% of the indicators that we have selected. That will be covered by my colleague Prayashi. Tomorrow, and the last session today, we will have group exercises based on the number of participants from which departments you are coming from. We will divide you into groups. We will give you a certain topic where you will have to find out what are the targets, what are the indicators that you will be basically using it to measure, and what you will be doing a SWOT analysis of those issues related to the SDGs, specific to certain goals which is relevant to your department in particular and Government of Meghalaya in general. Then we will try to have some presentations today. In case we are not able to complete group presentations, we will continue that tomorrow. And after the presentations tomorrow, there will be a session on SDG localization and what are the best practices that are available at this point of time in different parts of the country, in different states. That presentation I will do. Then we will have, of course, a little bit of a discussion. To make the session interesting, we will also conduct quizzes after maybe 1 or 2 sessions, so that we are able to understand, whatever we go through, at least you have been able to grasp. We will also have some video clippings so that you will be able to get an overall idea of what the particular topic is all about. And of course, lastly, based on the sessions that we do today and half day tomorrow, we will have an assessment which is there in your folder that we will do after completing the session tomorrow. Now for the icebreaker session, I will call upon my colleague Munmi to take it over. Thank you.
Very good morning, everyone. Come on, it can be a little louder. Good morning. I'm sure you all must have had your breakfast, so we'll keep it a little lively and happy. It's a very interesting topic.
Okay, so we'll keep it very short. We just want to know you, and of course, all of you may not be knowing each other. So I want you to first introduce yourself, your name, and the department you're coming from. And along with it, I want you to answer one question. If money and time were no objects, what would you be doing today? Okay? So, shall we start from our beautiful lady here? May I know your name and the department you have come from? Okay, lovely. So, if time and money were no object to you, what would you be doing today? Come on, like say, you can also say, like suppose you love to cook, you love to read, you could travel, something of that sort, your hobbies, or something that you're very passionate. Like you don't have to go to work, you don't need money, you don't need time, nothing to worry about. So what would you be doing then in that case? Amazing. So she loves to bake. Okay, great. Thank you. Next.
Very good morning to everyone. I'm Councillor Shulai, Deputy Conservator of Forest in the Forest and Environment Department.
Okay.
So if money and time were no option, I think I'll be spending my time today at home, being with my kids.
Amazing.
Doing all the household works.
Great, great. Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arpiu Samma. I am Deputy Conservator of Forest in the Forest and Environment Department. If time and money was no constraint, then I would be definitely reading and writing and painting.
You love to paint? Great, great. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Dr. V. Krishna from Kennan Government College. If money and time are not
A constraint, yeah.
constrained, then I'll be at home only doing some household work or gardening.
Gardening. Okay, lovely. Yes, I have seen in Meghalaya, people love to do gardening. It's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. You can sit also, it's fine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maria Lingdononglai from Forest and Environment Department. If money and time was not an object, I think I should have spent time with my family.
Okay. Anything else for yourself?
I think gardening.
Gardening. Okay, lovely. Yes, sir.
I'm John Shabong from Education Department.
Okay.
So if time and money is not a constraint, so probably I would be doing social work.
Okay.
That's all what happened.
Okay. Did everyone hear his name?
John Shabong,
John Shabak. He's John, so he would be?
Education Department.
Yeah, no, suppose like what would you be doing if there will be no time and money?
Probably
Maybe everyone should know you
I would
actually.
be engaged in social work.
Social work. Great, great. Okay, I'll allow you some time to rest. Please.
My name is Sri Kitrani. I'm from Education Department.
Okay.
So money and time is there, so I would spend time with my kids at home.
At home. Okay. And what would you be doing at home? Just relaxing?
Yes.
Lovely. Yes, ma'am.
Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Singhai and I'm teaching at Sora Government College. So I'm from the Education Department. So if time and money is not constraint, naturally I would, because we all know that we're living in a time where everything's too hectic.
Yes.
I would go and relax somewhere, enjoying the
Traveling?
day off.
Okay. Great, great. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. When you're introducing, you please introduce it to everyone, not just to me. Yeah. Because they are going to be your companion for the next 1.5 days. So she's from the Forest Department? Okay. And if you didn't have to, suppose, think about money and time, what would you be doing? Sorry, you want to tell what she's saying?
Yes, she said that she would just be sitting at home.
Okay, she said that she will be sitting at home. Thank you, ma'am. Please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bokodo Enonkanbre from Forest and Environment.
Okay, so she is also from Forest and Environment.
Yes.
Okay, and?
And if money and time were no objects, I'll just be sitting at home and take care of my family.
Okay, and for yourself?
I'll just be cooking.
Cooking. She loves to cook. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is going this way. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ruchika. I'm a PA Sama Research Fellow, Government of Law Department. And if money and time are not object, I think I'll still want to be here.
Oh, lovely. Great. Yes, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Krishna Devi. I'm also a PSAMA Research Fellow from the Law Department. And if money and time were not a constraint, I would either be probably reading or researching and traveling.
Lovely. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I am Badari Wajri from the Directorate of Educational Research and Training. So if money and time were not a constraint to me, I would be spending my time cleaning the house, my hobby, and also gardening.
Okay. Yes. I would love to talk a lot more on that, but we have a time constraint, so let's stick to that. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kosh. We are all planning department. So I have no comment on your question.
You don't want to do anything if money and time were no object? What are your hobbies?
I have a lot of hobbies, but say fishing and
Yeah. So you could do fishing whole day. Great. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Yohanaka India. I am from the Forest Department. If money and time was not a constraint, I'll be at home with my kids and doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's the best answer. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sri Long, from the Forest Environment Department.
Forest environment. Okay.
Time and money is constraint. I'll be continuing gardening from morning till dark.
Okay. He would be doing gardening the whole day, till morning till dark. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Parkon Notram from Program Implementation and Evaluation. If money and time were not a constraint, I would be on a road trip or taking a nap.
Okay. Sleeping is also a good thought. Yes.
My name is Bajrang Amara. I'm from Directorate of Program Implementation and Evaluation. If money and time.
I think none of you heard your name.
Yeah.
Please also. Okay.
I like to do this the spare with money and time.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I like to spend at home.
You'd like to spend time at home. Thank you. Great.
Good morning, everyone. My name is German Hindu from Program Presentation and Evaluation. If time money is constrained, I would like to cooking, cleaning, and plantations. Thank you.
Amazing. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tokman Sama. I'm working in Agriculture Department. My basic if time and money is not constrained, then I would be relaxing with my family.
Okay. Somewhere outside Meghalaya?
Not outside Meghalaya, but something like tourist place.
Okay. Great. I request you to please pay attention to all the people who are introducing themselves, so at least you can remember their names and all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Labdullah Khalil. I'm from the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And if time and money were not a constraint, I would like to have my own dog shelter.
Oh,
Great.
great. Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Taimi from the Education Department. If time and money is not constrained, I think I'll go relax myself and go for a fishing.
Fishing, another fishing guy. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Barisha Nungrum from the Education Department. If money and time is not a constraint, then I can take care of my mother who is not well, my daughter, and do all the household work and myself.
Okay. Anything for yourself?
For myself, that is myself only.
Okay.
If they are happy, then.
If they're happy. Lovely. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Agrisha Sundar. I'm working in Directorate of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. If time and money were not constrained, I will go for vacation outside India.
Ah, yes. Somebody who loves to travel. Any particular country you're interested to go first?
Anywhere, Ma'am.
Anywhere. Good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gilmore Woman. I'm also from the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And if time and money were not a constraint, then I would love to travel the world.
Beautiful. Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Ronga. I'm from Program Implementation and Evaluation Department. So my hobby is like I like to travel and looking at the social media.
Okay. So if money and time were an object, you'd be traveling? Okay. Any specific destination that you have in mind?
I will love
Ireland. Oh, beautiful country. Yes, sir.
My name is Sumar, Assistant Director from Program Communication and Division Silang. If the time is constrained for me, I will spend all the time with my kids at home.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, please.
My name is Singapore. I am Forest from Forest and Environment Department. And money and time is I will be traveling around.
You'll be traveling too? Okay. Great. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Yawan. I'm from Forest Department. And if money and time is not in constraint, I will be spending my time with my family and to travel.
And to travel. Yes, sir.
My name is Padmanika.
Okay. Can you say it a little louder? I think nobody can hear. Okay. Thank you. And you're from which department, sir? Forest. Forest. Okay. And what would you like to do if money and time were no objects for you? Be at home? Okay. Thank you.
I am Benison Kamat from Health and Family Welfare Department. And suppose if time and money is not the constraint, I think I spend my time farming and reading.
Lovely. Do you still do farming?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do?
Especially we plant crops and have my own farms.
Nice. Very nice.
Myself, Mitra Baksuka from Health and Family Welfare Department. Just I will sit at home and spend time with family. I'll wash my clothes.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, yes, I do.
Yeah. You love to cook?
Yes.
Mm.
And I watch TV all day. Then play mobiles.
Play mobile games?
That's all.
Interesting. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ravitra Mathong from Health and Family Welfare Department. If time and money were not a constraint, I would love to travel around the world.
Any particular destination to begin with?
European countries and Southeast Asian countries.
Lovely. Thank you. So we have 3 more participants here. Yes, ma'am. Kindly introduce your name, your department, and if money and time were no object, what would you be doing today?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Olivia Christine Aubry. I'm from the Department of Social Welfare. And if money is not a constraint, I would love to travel and meet my friends who are scattered all over the world. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello everyone, I'm Risa Ankit. I'm from Kyanglang Government College. If I had plenty of time and if money is no objection.
Money and time. Time
I would
also.
like to, if that is possible, then I would like to write and I would like to travel.
Okay. Do you write anything as such at home?
I write poetry.
Amazing. So she is a poet.
Not exactly.
But she loves to write poetry. So.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nelson Persendi from the Directorate of Program Implementation and Evaluation. I've got free time. I would like to relax, watch TV, movies, listen to music.
Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you. So we have so many people. Majority I found many of you would love to hang out with your family, relax and spend time with your kids, your parents. Many were there who would love to travel. Many of them said that they would love to cook, fishing, sleeping. One lady with baking. I thought I'll have more people with baking also, but unfortunately you're the only one. But it was lovely knowing you all. We'll continue with the next session. And for that, I will hand over the next session to our regional head, Mr. John Burgari. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Munmi. And now it's my turn to tell you, if time and money was not constrained, what I would love to do. I would love to become a farmer. I'm a part-time farmer, actually. So every weekend I go to my village and I do farming on Saturdays. Sunday I can't do because that's a holiday for us. Well, before we begin the technical session, I just wanted to briefly tell you where we are from. Many of you must have heard what UNDP is, United Nations Development Program. In the Northeast, we are operating from Guwahati. We cover across all the Northeast. We generally work with the government. Globally, we are working with various governments, and we are partnering with over 170 countries and territories, working in areas where we can improve the quality of life of people. So the areas in which UNDP primarily focuses on human development, climate change, disaster risk reduction, livelihood, and right now we are working on SDGs. But when we call SDGs, all thematic areas are coming within the umbrella of SDGs. So in India, we have been working since 1951. In the Northeast also, we have been working for many decades, but we did not have a dedicated office for the Northeastern region. We used to manage it from Delhi. But since the last 7 years, our office has been established in Guwahati so that it's easier for us to work with state governments and with our development partners here in the region. The areas we work directly complement to the priorities of the national government. Before 10 years, that is before the current government came, there used to be planning commission, and the planning commission used to have that 5-year plan. So UNDP used to be one of the stakeholders basically informing consultations for the government of India as to what are the priority areas that the people want. So the policy decision making is not top down, but it is bottom up. So UNDP used to facilitate that, and all the programmatic areas of UNDP used to be aligned to the priorities of the government. Right now, the government of India has something, based on the SDGs, they have one agenda 2030, plus they have plan for 7 years, then again action plan for 3 years. So NITI Aayog has that. Besides that, every state governments they have SDG vision, they have agenda 2030 specific to the need of that state government, and accordingly UNDP also aligns our priorities based whether it is of the national government or the state government. So this is an overall view of the areas in which UNDP operates. In the Northeast, our focus is to work with the government, with civil society organizations, with private sector, and any development partner which is aligned to our aims and objectives. Our focus is also to build a knowledge bank of best practices from within the region, from various parts of the country, as well as from across the country, and facilitate the knowledge exchange, especially on SDGs. So tomorrow's presentation that I will be talking about on the best practices of localization would be some of those knowledge products, some of those best practices which we are helping the state governments to replicate. For an example, if government of Meghalaya is interested on something specific related to probably one of the SDG goals, we may have some best practices maybe in the state of Karnataka, maybe in the state of Uttarakhand, or from within one of the states in the Northeast. So these are the broad areas where we are focusing here in the Northeast. And as I said, we are mainly working with the state governments, and any development partner that wishes to partner with UNDP to work on areas of livelihood, on MSMEs, on social entrepreneurs, market linkages, and sustainable livelihood is one of the key areas. Secure Himalayas that UNDP is implementing, in upper reaches of the Himalayas. Mainly here in the northeast, it is in the state of Sikkim, So the priority is basically on that. In Arunachal Pradesh, we are working with, the government on the conservation of biodiversity. In Meghalaya itself, we have initiated, in Nokrek biosphere on biodiversity conservation, working with the communities there. And we had been working here in Meghalaya with State Disaster Management Authority on resilient cities. So there are several projects that, we had been implementing or we are currently implementing here in the Northeast. So this is a brief about UNDP in the Northeast. Now I will go to the main presentation of what SDG is all about. And today's session is primarily focused on this. If you look at the journey of SDGs, SDGs simply just did not come, or UN body did not approve it, on 25th of September 2015. There is a long journey to where we are at this point of time. Way back, it started in 1972, that Stockholm consultation, where all the UN member countries came together expressing that environmental issues was a major concern, and therefore the governments need to focus, and UNDP was leading that. The next consultation came the Rio Summit, in Rio de Janeiro, which is better known as Earth Summit. And the outcome of that Earth Summit was Agenda 21. Agenda 21 basically was commitment from the member countries of United Nations that they are going to work towards conservation of Earth. That was the main focus. Then, of course, there were several consultations. Then came the MDGs. Before SDGs, there were MDGs. There were 8 goals. Now we have in SDGs 17 goals. So in 2000 and 2001, there was a declaration of Millennium Development Goals. Okay, Millennium Development Goals ended in 2015. And from 2015 onwards, the UN General Assembly formed something called an open working group to look at what were the gaps within the MDGs, Millennium Development Goal, and how do we fill that gap? What were the major concerns related to environment, related to, our future generation? So based on the draft policy of Open Working Group submitted in 2014, all the countries came together in 2015, and that draft goals, 17 goals, was approved by the General Assembly on 25th of September 2015. That is called Sustainable Development Goals. And this came into effect from 1st of January 2016. Today, if you're looking at, because this was for 15 years, we have already crossed halfway mark. And where are we? Have we reached to where all the countries were supposed to reach? COVID pandemic was, one of the major setbacks, because of which the countries are struggling to catch up the targets that they had set, in 2015 and 2016. saying that by 2030, for goal number 1, this would be the target. Goal number 2, that would be the target. So there has been a huge setback. We will review some of this. I have one slide presentation, the color coding. By looking at the color, you will know which country is, at what position as on date. So, what is Sustainable Development Goal? It is a global development framework which has 17 goals. In your folders, there is a small pocket booklet that is given there. Okay, so all the 17 goals are there and all the targets are there. Indicators are not printed there. There are global indicators, but every nation has, every country has their own national indicator framework which is aligned to global indicator framework. And every state government, most of the state governments have state indicator framework, which is again aligned to national indicator framework. And there are certain states which have gone ahead to develop district indicator framework as part of SDG localization. And states like Mizoram has gone further to down something called local indicator framework, which is a village level indicator framework, so that you are able to monitor and assess the progress within the village, within the block, within the district, and of course at the state level, where do you stand? And the Northeast SDG index that UNDP has come up with in partnership with NITI Aayog and Ministry of Donor primarily compares one district with the other district on various parameters, on various goals. Where does that district stand on the SDGs? So tomorrow when my colleague Prayashi is going to cover, you will see, the districts where you are coming from in Meghalaya. Where does your district stand vis-a-vis other districts within Meghalaya? And what is the performance, the composite score of the districts of Meghalaya as compared to other districts within the region? So it will be a very interesting presentation that you will be able to see tomorrow. And in the SDGs, as I said, there are 17 goals. There are 169 targets. What is target and what is indicator? I'm going to cover it in the next slide, so it will be clearer to you. And what is the aim of this SDGs? The aim of SDGs is to, to build a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination. So this is the core of SDGs. When we speak to people in simple words about SDG, what we say is, leave no one behind. Reach the furthest first. That means when the government is developing policies, the government should consider targeting first people who are on the lowest rank of the society, who are living in the last mile areas. For an example, in the international border areas, maybe, international border areas towards the Bangladesh, Dauki side, and, Garo Hill, South Garo Hill side towards Bangladesh. So, those are the areas where if you see, you can see the difference between many of the districts which are more progressive, compare maybe East Khasi Hills, compare with districts maybe, I don't know what, Nongstoin and all that side. If you go, or, Garo Hill side, you will find, a lot of the government schemes do not reach there. So, the focus of SDG basically helps you formulate those kind of policies so that people who are weaker, who are marginalized, they are targeted first. The resources are allocated so that they are able to come up to the level which is required. Yeah. So I was talking about, which goal? We are talking about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goal. Okay. Which target? Every goal has a target. Okay. And I am not sure whether the government of Meghalaya has developed, targets for each of the departments. Goal number 1 will have the role of around at least 5 to 6 departments. Education department also will be there, agriculture will be there, forest will be there, that I don't know what all other department. Okay, because if you do not want poverty in Meghalaya, that means even the PWD department will have to be there. Now, because the farmers in the remote areas, suppose they want right kind of a price for the produce that they can sell in the market, they need to be able to transport, they need to have that kind of a well connectivity. And therefore, if there are no roads, they will not able to sell it, in a place like, in Bara Bazaar here, in Shillong, where they will get a better price. Because that's why, every department will have to coordinate to achieve, certain goals. Now, which indicator? Indicator is basically, you are trying to measure basically, whether certain target has been achieved or not. I have just given you an example here of, SDG 9. It is about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, if you look at in this booklet, a target 9.8, it is significantly increase access to information and communication technology and strive to provide universal and affordable access to the internet in least developed countries by 2030. Now, this is a global target. So, in the Indian context, it will be, instead of global, it will be maybe in India. Okay. What is the indicator? Now, when NITI Aayog wants to measure, or the planning department, which is coordinating for the state of Meghalaya, want to see whether the internet accessibility and connectivity in the remote areas based on the number of population, this will be the indicator. Number of internet subscription as percentage of total population. Okay. So, your ranking in India SDG index will be basically based on this. Maybe in the Northeast, they will compare number of population to the number of subscription, internet subscription as compared to Meghalaya, Assam, and other states, and accordingly ranking will be provided. In case you require any clarity, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions. Okay, because by the end of the presentation, you may forget. Now, this is what I was talking about. If you want to see the status of, different countries on progress of SDGs, this is something called Sustainable Development Solution Network. There is an organization which partners with UNDP, and it basically monitors countries where they stand. So the color scheme you can see, on the left side. So the darkest blue is, on over 80% on track. Then the lighter blue, again, the percentage is given there. For India, you can see, I think we are somewhere between 50% to 60%. That is the kind of a target. But had there been no COVID pandemic, probably, many of the countries would have performed better. Okay, so this is, there is a website that you can go, this presentation will be given to you. You can track on real time, this probably can change, after 6 months or so. And for many of the states, what UNDP has done is, based on the interest and the priorities of the state government, UNDP has developed a dashboard, state-specific dashboard. Using those dashboard, the state government is able to monitor, up to the district level, For Mizoram, we are trying to develop, up to the village level. So the state government is able to measure the progress of every village against the village indicator framework or local indicator framework which has been developed. Similarly, what UNDP has done, based on UN Resident Coordinator's Office, helped NITI Aayog to prepare a national SDG dashboard. So, Prime Minister's Office, NITI Aayog or any of the central ministries are able to monitor the progress, at a national level, which is hosted by NITI Aayog, what is the progress of every state government. And Prime Minister takes a review based on the result of the dashboard. Similarly, for the Northeast, UNDP has again, in partnership with NITI Aayog and Ministry of Donor, has developed a dashboard for the Northeast. So 120 districts, you can compare and see which districts ranks where. You can see it directly, from the dashboard itself. Now, these are, different goals that are there. If you can just take out the pocket booklet, if you see goal number 1, okay, it is end poverty in all its forms everywhere. So, you can see there are, targets. The first target that you see, no poverty you will find. The next, just flip your page, you will find 1.1, target. By 2030, eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than $1.25 a day. Okay, so this is a target. So there are these kind of targets. So it's important that, I'm not sure about again, whether the planning department has, Agenda 2030 developed for the state. Now, if state government has an Agenda 2030 developed for the state, then, against every SDG goal, every department will have a target. And to measure that target, there will be an indicator which will be developed. Indicator is developed that we know very well because UNDP has been working very closely with the planning department. But whether the targets have been developed, I think they were doing it through KPMG, but at what position it is, I am not sure. So every department should be aware what is your role. In goal number 1, your department's role. Health probably will not come in goal number 1 at this point of time. Health will come, in subsequent goals. So, because I could hear, few people participating here, from the health department. Similarly, forest department, I think there are around dozen of you are here from the forest department. Each of you should be aware what is the target of the state government and what your department is supposed to play role in achieving that particular SDG goal which your work contributes to. So if you are clear in that, if you have a data and that data is collated by the planning department and uploaded in a dashboard, then the policy makers will be in a position to know where the state government is, where that particular department is, specific to certain goals. Accordingly, the policy changes can be made. That's why we are saying a dashboard is not a dashboard just to see the performance. It is a tool for the decision makers to make policies which address the critical areas, which address the existing gaps that are there, which is preventing to meet that particular SDG goal. So, in case they realize, when my colleagues talk about multidimensional poverty index, there will be a lot of data. Data will be very clear as to, on certain aspects, where does Meghalaya Meghalaya as a state stand. So, so goal number 1 is end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Goal number 2, end hunger. We call it zero hunger. Again, you can see it in the booklet. You can see there are different targets. So based on which departments you are coming from, and probably you can go back, you can ask your bosses that, is there any kind of a target for our department related to SDGs? So if we get the target, then it would have been much clearer for us to basically, make it more relevant as to, what we basically speak and discuss at this point of time. So I'll quickly flip through all these, 17 goals. Is there, you can go through in detail in the booklet. So the last is, revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development goals. So these 16 goals, okay, basically vouches for partnership. That means not only from one country to the other country, but within the country, from one state to the other states, from one department to the other department. So this will, and not only about the work, also about the resources. To meet the SDG targets, you will require, several trillion US dollars, if you compare. For a country like India, for probably, a state like Meghalaya, you will require, several billion US dollars. As a government, the state government does not have that kind of a resources. So therefore, SDG will help to find out, how do you harness resources from outside the kitty of the state government, community resources, private sector, public sector, international partners. So when we talk of resources, it's not only the financial resources, it's about the human resources, it's about technical expertise, so many resources are there. Contribution, in kind, in labor, by the people, those are also resources. So what does global goals basically aim? Meet the present needs without compromising the needs of the future generation. I see there is a lot. Yesterday we went for a trekking, because yesterday was a holiday for us. At least we thought that we will utilize some time. We were trekking. We did that David Scott's trail, that 16 kilometers from MoSPI Sacred Grove. And when we were about to complete, we found that, there is a lot of excavation that is going on, But when we actually came through Cherrapunji, we found on the road, there is so much of stone excavation is there. I'm just giving you an example, okay? But what basically we mean to say is that, sustainable development goal is that kind of a framework, which basically advocates that, whatever natural resources that we have, we are not there to basically, exhaust that. That needs to be replenished, and there needs to be a strategy so that the nature is able to replenish, whatever we consume. And SDG basically gives that kind of a framework. So again, it is an integrated, approach. So different departments should come together, different state governments should come together, India as a whole should come together and work. Then only we'll be able to achieve. If you look at, there are SDGs, there are three key elements. One is the economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. Now, if a government is focusing too much on industrialization, only on economic growth, exploiting the natural resources, not looking at equitable distribution of resources, the rich will continue to become rich, the poor will continue to become poor, and there will be a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. And again, the SDG basically gives that kind of a framework where the focus needs to be balanced between economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. And the core of SDG is to eradicate poverty. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll quickly go through. So SDG is very, very ambitious. So if you look at the target 1, of goal number 1, you will see that 1.2 target is to halve the global poverty by 2030. Now it is extremely challenging. Developed countries have no problem, but sub-Saharan countries, African countries, even some of the countries here in South Asia, in Southeast Asia, Pacific countries, it is extremely difficult to meet, that kind of a target. But it is very, very ambitious, integrated, indivisible. That means you can't say that, oh, our department will not work with that department. We will contribute only to, goal number 1. We will not contribute to goal number 2. No. It cannot be divided. Goal number 1 cannot be, taken away saying that, okay, let us just focus on goal number 2. Okay. Integration goals are interconnected, cannot achieve just one goal. We must achieve all of them. But as I said that, the core of SDG is leaving no one behind, reaching the furthest first. The focus for the policymakers should be to reach the furthest first, to reach the weakest person of the society. And universality, they apply to every nation, every sector, every cities, every schools, every business. We have to basically take it as a challenge. And SDG can be categorized into social, economic, environmental, and partnership according to goals. There is a huge opportunity because SDG is there. Now, this basically helps, the state government to implement any kind of a program which is integrated, interdepartmental. So any kind of a scheme, probably, I know I have been working for UNDP for over 17 years. I have worked with many of the state governments, down south, Western India, Northern India, and for the past 7 years, I have been working here, in Northeast. I have realized the government department works in silos. We tried in many of the states to develop that Agenda 2030 targets on every goal, making one lead department the responsibility for the target and supporting departments of 5 to 6 different. It's extremely challenging, but this gives an opportunity. The progress of that needs to be monitored, like UNDP is helping NITI Aayog to develop dashboards, come up with various indicators so that it can be measured. And people should know what SDG is all about. Like the sensitization that we are having today, so that you become the torch bearers. Or, when we have sensitization program with youth, college, university students, they become the torch bearers of SDGs, in the villages or the places that they come from. So again, it's not only, the government. You need to look at, social innovation, technological innovation, get the private sector to participate, then only we'll be able to achieve SDGs, share success stories with each other. Now, there is something called, voluntary national review done by United Nations every year, where every country can volunteer to go and make a presentation about the status of SDGs in their own country. Where have they reached? Okay, so from the second voluntary national review onwards, the government of India has been engaging the development partners, not only the state governments, they are engaging civil society organizations, private sector partners, academia, environmental activists, social activists, to basically get feedback and the finding of where India stands against that global targets which have been set, against the national indicator framework, UN, the government of India basically goes and makes that presentation, every year in New York. So This is which is voluntary. It is not compulsory every country to go and make a presentation. Well, this is my last slide. And in case you have any questions, you are free to ask before I hand it over to my colleague. Yeah, is it clear what SDG is all about? So what is the core message of SDG? Leave no one behind, reach the furthest first. Remember that. Okay. So if you know that, then you know what SDG is all about. Thank you so much. I think let us break for tea before we start the second session.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Prayashi. I'm the SDG Associate for UNDP Northeast. And in the first session, our John sir has already briefed you about how SDGs look in the global sphere. I think we can distribute them later, Pinky. So now in the second phase, we come to how SDGs at the global level, fine, we have made a promise that by 2030, we have to plan for 2030. But how do we adopt it in India? So that's the story that we are going to talk about in this presentation. So the first step when we're adopting something new, although SDGs have been there, so the concept of sustainability has been there, a part and parcel of the development agenda. But when you say SDG, the 17 goals and the 169 targets, we have to kind of have a framework. And for that, we have to make somebody responsible. We need to have an institution which is going to take it forward. So for India, can you take any guess which is that implementing body? Very good. So it is NITI Aayog. So NITI Aayog coordinates all work related to SDGs. And for monitoring, as John sir was mentioning about indicator frameworks, right? So for indicator framework, for monitoring related aspects, we have Ministry of Statistics and Planning. So that is MoSPI. So at the national level, NITI Aayog is the nodal agency for coordinating SDGs. And at the state level, we have the planning department. And within those planning departments, we have certain SDG cells. So some states have a SDG coordination center. UNDP is also supporting the SDG coordination center. And in some states, they have, it's led by a government body itself. So it is an exclusive unit which does all the SDG related work from implementation to monitoring to localization. Okay. Then apart from that, yes, for monitoring, of course, we need certain tools. We have talked about the 17 goals, 169 targets. We have schemes that we have mapped to SDGs, but how do we monitor them? We need a single framework of monitoring, right? So for that, we have a dashboard. We have the India Index dashboard, which NITI Aayog has developed. And we also, in certain state governments, they have developed their own IT-enabled, these state-specific dashboards, where you can actually zoom in and see how a district performs on each of these goals. Okay. And of course, nothing is possible. As we said, that leave no one behind is the principle behind implementing SDGs. So for that, we need partnerships. And partnerships, not just, of course, convergence among the departments, but also with other agencies that are working in the same domain, be it NGOs, INGOs, the UN bodies, or any academic institute. So, yeah. So now this is the overall story of how India has adopted the SDGs. So in 2015, India pledged that we will integrate SDGs in our planning framework, and we are going to monitor and implement the SDGs till 2030. And that's why NITI Aayog came into the picture. It was designated, as I said, as the nodal agency along with MoSPI for monitoring. And nothing is possible without a vision, right? So a vision document for India was formed. And secondly, schemes. So all our schemes, like every department has certain schemes. Education has Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, health has different schemes. So all these schemes are mapped against an SDG target, not just the goal. So what you have to know is which goal is your scheme linked to, and also which target is it addressing. So the 169 targets are there in your booklet. You can map those schemes with your targets. And then after the mapping was done, MoSPI came up with a indicator framework. So the list of questions or the indicators on which monitoring has to happen. And from these 284 indicators that we have, so there are 284 indicators across 17 goals mapped to different ministries, but data is still not available for all of these indicators, and that is a major challenge. Although we have seen improvements that data capturing with the improvement of data capturing systems, but to monitor the 284 targets, we do not have disaggregated data. For example, rural, urban, we might not have state-wise or district-wise. So SDG India Index came into the picture here. So India Index, which was started by NITI Aayog with UN support, they said that let's take some of the indicators which are universally applicable across all states and UTs. Okay. And it started with 62 indicators. Now it has, now we have 115. So the first report, which was an attempt to rank all these states on SDGs, was released in 2018. And the last report was released in 2021. I think a lot of you must have also heard about it. And it has around 115 indicators, which are mapped across, I think, 70 targets for now. And these are basically how states have progressed on the SDGs. So each state is supposed to, so there was a guideline that was given out by Government of India that states need to have a vision document, state-specific vision document. Then you have to map your schemes with the SDGs and the targets, which has already been done by planning department that I came to know. And formation of working groups. Of course, an SDG cell has to be in place, which coordinates all the work at the state level. And if possible, even in the district, we can have some kind of a district coordinating cell, SDG cell. After that, monitoring systems need to be in place. So state develops its own SIF, state indicator framework. District indicator framework, as Sir had already mentioned, that some states have also developed village indicator framework to monitor SDGs across villages. And then budgeting, if we see that 10 states have completed the budgeting part. So here we know that usually we try to assess the progress of a scheme by how much expenditure is being incurred. But here in SDG outcome budgeting, we are mapping how SDG outcomes are achieved. And let's say number of scholarships that were given to students. On that performance level, the state governments are issuing, allocating budgets. So that's kind of a SDG outcome budgeting, and 10 states have done it, 3 UTs have done it, and vision documents, around 20 states have already done it. Capacity building, of course, many states are doing it. This is also an example of such an initiative. So capacity building, training of officials, and awareness generation has been done by most of the states and UTs. Yeah. So I just mentioned about SDG Coordination Center, and it's like a PMU which consists of 4 or 5 experts who are working on monitoring, planning, then localization, awareness, capacity building. So they're dedicated personnel who are assigned, and UNDP has support in 5 or 6 states. We have Jammu Kashmir, we have a SDG cell in Nagaland. We are trying also for Mizoram and Haryana, Karnataka, or Punjab. Yeah. So these are basically the 5 pillars that the SDG cells work on. First is awareness and capacity building. Then integrating, so as I said, outcome budgeting exercises, this is also done. Localization, which means creating awareness. For example, in Nagaland, we have the Hornbill Festival. So we have an exclusive stall to promote SDGs. Through quizzes, games, we distribute prizes among children, and then we have a Green Christmas campaign. So those are the localization initiatives that are taken by states. Then resource mobilization partnerships. For example, Karnataka has developed this platform to harness CSR resources, because there is a huge financing gap when we try to implement SDGs on the ground, and we need additional funding. And since Karnataka is the IT hub, so they were able to garner a lot of CSR funding, especially during the COVID pandemic, and monitoring and evaluation. So the first monitoring, when we come to monitoring, we had already learned about global monitoring, global indicator framework. Now we come to national indicator framework, or NIF. And this is actually the Bible of monitoring for India, because it is based on the NIF that states are developing the SIFs. We are also being monitored at the global level through our performance on these indicators. So currently, 284 indicators are there, and MoSPI had developed it. And when they were choosing these indicators, a very careful selection was done. A lot of scrutiny was done when we were analyzing, when MoSPI was analyzing the global indicator framework. So first thing is, it has to be relevant to a target. So when we are choosing an indicator, for example, let's say number of space missions done by a country, that is not a priority now for 2030, but it might be a priority maybe in the next 30, 40 years. So first thing is, it has to be whatever indicator that you are choosing for your department also, it has to be mapped to a certain target. Secondly, feasibility in relation with official data. So of course, the data has to be official. It has to be a government source data, or and it has to be measurable in terms of statistical measurement. Then accessibility, and of course it has to be easily understood, and of course it has to be developed through a very consultative process, which means that MoSPI cannot alone develop the indicator. So they had a lot of consultations and workshops with the ministries to develop the NIF. And if you want to see the NIF, you can actually go to MoSPI's website. They have these reports. So the latest one was released in June 2023. And here in page number 260, you will actually find those Excel files. So after the rankings are done, there's a lot of chaos that where have you taken the data from, what is the source of data. So the data is actually in the public domain, and you can have a look at it. It's all in Excel files in that 2023 Sustainable Development Goals National Progress Report, NIF. So I've already mentioned about this, that NIF is used by NITI Aayog for ranking of states, and also states have contextualized and kind of adopted the NIF in their while developing their SIF, or the State Indicator Framework. For example, when we were doing Jammu Kashmir said that we don't want to monitor what is the productivity of rice, which is mentioned in NIF. We want to do horticulture because that is our forte, that is our strength. And how much are we able to garner revenue from there? So that is what is important. So we will monitor that. So for Meghalaya, it might be different. For other states, it might be different. So SIFs are more state specific and more contextualized. And when we come to Meghalaya, so I'll just, because we are very short on time, we'll just look at some of the indicators which to see Meghalaya's performance on the latest progress report of the MoSPI. So these are all the indicators under goal 1 and the map target. So first of all, I just want to highlight how do we number an indicator. So if you see 1.3.1, that is something that is of importance to health department. Percentage of households with any usual member covered by a health scheme. So 1 is the goal. The first number is the goal. The second number, 1.3, is the target 3 under goal 1. So that is already there in your pocket books. And serial number 1 is, of course, the indicator number 1 under SDG target 1.3. So that is how we number these indicators. Then we have number of self-help groups, number of population which have received PMMVY. So all these are goal 1 indicators. So I just took one of the indicators, the insurance one, and we find that in among all the states of India, Meghalaya is somewhere at 69% as per the latest NFHS report, which has kind of improved. So I think it was around 35% during 2015-16 and has improved remarkably in 2019-21. And Meghalaya is somewhere in the top 10 states in this indicator, which is a good sign. But what is it that Rajasthan is doing, which has made it climb from around 20% to almost 85% plus? So we need to understand those kind of intricacies. I don't know, but probably if we can learn from others. That's what SDGs also talk about, peer learning, what fostering competition between states, but also healthy learning. So second indicator we have is any representative from social welfare? No. So social welfare, I'm sure PMMVY scheme is there. So here also Meghalaya is in the top 10 with almost 90% coverage, and the top state is Madhya Pradesh with 94%. And India. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. Then under goal 2, agriculture department, I think we have some officials. So under goal 2, we have again different indicators like children under 5 years who are underweight, percentage of beneficiaries covered under NFSA, agriculture productivity of wheat and rice. So here some indicators are there. So if you notice that 2.1.1 underweight, coverage of beneficiaries under NFSA, the figures are better than the country average, and overweight is actually slightly more for Meghalaya, if you notice, it's 4%, and for India it is 3.4%. So this is actually kind of a new insight. Why is it happening that children are becoming overweight? Wasting is 12.1%, and anemia also is quite high, even though it's 53.8%. As per the recent report, still it's quite around half of the pregnant mothers are anemic. Yeah, so here again, agriculture productivity of rice is 2,741 kg per hectare, and net sown area is low, 25.24%. So it might be because we have a hilly terrain in Meghalaya, and that's why probably the net sown area is less. I don't know, but that might be a probable reason. Whereas for India, a primarily agrarian country, so it has around 77% of its land under cultivation. So again, these are different targets and indicators, which you'll find in the NIF Progress Report 2023. You can have a look. Health again, if we see percentage of births attended by skilled health personnel. So anybody from health who would like to discuss on why or what is the current situation now for Meghalaya? Any anecdote you would like to share? So it's 64% and India is at 89.4. I think it's in the top 15-20. So any experience why, is there some kind of a challenge that why we have I think we have health department officials there. What are the challenges that you face? Anything, why is is there any problem on the ground? Like maybe it's difficult for medical personnel to travel to a particular place. Commutation is the problem. Come on, I want some inputs from you all. It's supposed to be a give and take process. I'll also learn from you. Please, sir.
Actually, ma'am, as far as I know, actually, one of the reasons is that many of the women they prefer this. Actually, many of them they do not prefer to go to the hospital. Okay. That's one thing, and they prefer to have a delivery at home. Probably it is the ignorance of this of the health benefit and its availability.
So maybe it's more of a cultural problem here. That's what. Thank you so much. Then another indicator is suicide mortality, and I think this is taken from the National Crime Records Bureau. So anybody from police, law will have an idea. And the suicide mortality rate is comparatively in a good position, 6.9, almost 7 suicides per 1 lakh population, and which is almost half that of India's figure. So education department will be familiar with the NAS survey. So that is one of the indicators, the National Achievement Survey, which talks about how the proficiency of students in the learning outcome. So in English and math, that is only for language and numeracy, MoSPI and 7%. So only 7% of the students have numeracy skills. The National Achievement Survey that is telling us. And enrollment, if you look at the secondary level, we find that it is kind of declining, and it is mostly the case with India as well. Completion rates also, we find that the completion rate is much higher at the primary level, and of course, as we move up to higher classes, the rate kind of falls down, and that might be because of migration, or of course for girls it might be due to some social barriers. Yeah, and then this is goal 11. So goal 11 talks about sustainable cities and communities. So here again, road accidents. The figures for Meghalaya is around 8 injuries per 1 lakh, 7.98 injuries per 1 lakh population, whereas for India it is 27.2. And these are some of the other indicators under goal 11. Yes. Percentage of waste processed, number of good air days. In fact, the PM level, particulate matter level for Shillong is very low, and the number of good days means the PM levels, that is the pollution matter, is much lower compared to all the other cities of the Northeast. Gangtok tops the list with 100%, which means all days are good days. 97% for Shillong, and Guwahati, where I come from, is absolutely worse with 51%. So again, for goal 12, which talks about sustainable consumption, mostly related to agri department, food and civil supplies, you can have a look at the indicators later. Goal 16 is about peace and justice. So how are we monitoring them? We are measuring it through cases reported against women, crimes against women, against children. Then for law, we are seeing what is the sanction strength of judicial officers at the district and subordinate courts, and how many judges are there per lakh population. Okay, now we come to the second part of the presentation, that is the SDG India Index. And how many of you have heard about this index? If anybody has heard, can you raise your hands? Okay, only one? Nobody else? Okay, so this is actually very interesting because a lot of media coverage has been done, and it's like a competition between all these states. It's like it's not like the exam, but it's somewhat kind of states take it very seriously, and there have been many workshops where the chief minister or the chief secretary has presided over to discuss the progress of SDGs in their respective states with the NITI Aayog. So as I said in the beginning, the 2018 was the first report of SDG ranking for India, and there were 39 targets and 62 indicators only. But now in the version 3 report, we find that there are 70 targets which are mapped against 115 indicators, which means that we have more data on some of the indicators that is why we have been able to kind of increase the indicator coverage. And what is the sole purpose of India Index? Monitoring SDGs across states, then bring about competition, but healthy competition and peer learning. Okay. So, and the data for all these indicators is taken directly from the national level surveys, and 80% of the indicators are outcome based, which means because states have different schemes, right? So we had to, NITI Aayog had to develop indicators that are very much outcome based, because if the schemes for different states can be different. Maternal mortality, to curb maternal mortality, let's say Assam has a different scheme. So we need to monitor outcomes instead of the progress of the schemes. Okay. So I'll just show the India Index dashboard. So anybody can access this. It's in the public domain, sdgindiaindex.niti.gov.in. And this is how it looks like. Mithun, can you come closer? That is not working. Yeah, no, I think we're far, that's why. So states are categorized into four categories. The first is achiever. So anybody who scores 100, it's like how students compete for an exam. So anybody who gets 100 is an achiever in that SDG. We do not have an achiever state yet. States with a score of 65 to 99 are front runners, which you can see. Those are the states which have green. And then states which are performers are the yellow ones. So we find that the central belt and somewhat the northeastern states are within 50 to 64 marks. And aspirants are the most backward. I would say the states which have performed the least, the poorest states. So we also have aspirational district program. I mean, a lot of you might know, which is focusing on the backward districts. So aspirant states is also other states which are falling behind on the SDG goals. So if we look at the, that Kerala is at the top, and here you can see that it is actually above the India average. So India's score in total is 66 out of 100, and Kerala is at 75. It was at 70 in the last edition. And if you want to look at Meghalaya, you can just So yeah, Meghalaya's picture on the SDGs looks something like this. So goal 1 is green, goal 2 is red. So goal 1 is green, means it's a front runner SDG. It has got a score of 77. And goal 4, which is education, infrastructure goal 9. Those are the priority indicators as per the India Index. And if you want to have a deeper look on why these goals are red, you can actually go to the indicators. I'll just click on this. Yeah, so the indicators are here, the numbers are here. Individually, you can look at that where are we falling behind. So as per this index, we find that Meghalaya has performed the best in goal number 10, which is reducing inequalities among gender, among marginalized groups. Also, to some extent, goal 12, goal 6. You can also scroll across the different goals individually and see the indicators performance. This we have already covered. 2020, 2019, there are more greens, which means we have gone up the ladder for many of the states like Maharashtra, then Gujarat, and the northern belt as well. Has a score of 60. and it has actually improved by 6 points since the last edition. So this is India's progress on different goals. So SDG 2 and SDG 5 is aspirant in the red category. And for Meghalaya, we have already discussed. I'll share this presentation with you so that you can go through all the individual indicators and the sources. And the last part is how do we improve localization? So first thing is create awareness. I think we went to the survey forms and we found that first of all, we need to create awareness because most of us, we do not talk about SDGs a lot now, but there has been a lot of emphasis currently as we are just 7 years away from 2030 to achieve the goals, and then aligning our schemes with the different goals and assigning them targets, then developing indicators to strengthen our monitoring, then prepare the SDG outcome budget so that we see how we are performing against different outcomes, and of course building partnerships so that no one is left behind. So that is, we are prepared for SDGs in India. Now we have a short quiz. Pinky and Munmi Iba will be coordinating for this. So I request my colleagues. Pinky and so I hope all of you have internet. So you'll have to just go to Google and type menti.com, menti.com, and type this code. So,
yes, one was the trial question. So just divided.
So we have two groups, okay? Group A and Group B. You are all a team. And so whoever can shout the loudest will be the winner. So this is team A, team B. Okay, so the first question was a trial question. We'll go to the second question. I'll also stop.
This team A now. This team A, this team B. B has answered.
So, what does NIF stand for and how many indicators are there? I think team B is the loudest, so they are getting the points. Team B, 10 points. Next question. So NIF, 284 indicators, National Indicator Framework. Okay. Third question. Which government body is responsible? Oh my God, they are very loud. You'll have to buck up. So no.
They said NITI Aayog.
No, but this is wrong because NITI Aayog is only the coordinating body. Monitoring is MoSPI.
Yeah, he mentioned MoSPI.
Okay, but they were not that loud. But still, we'll give it to them because some of them have mentioned MoSPI. So team B again 10 points.
So you can wait for the options.
Okay, this is not related. We are not going to mark it, but we want your opinions on this. What can be the obstacles of achieving SDGs in India? So team A, say anybody wants to say, and team B, one of you come. And John sir will decide who has given the best answer, and we'll give bonus 20 points.
So now you have the time to match up the score. Team B.
So team A, who wants to come up? You can just, yeah, team A, sorry. You can mention 2-3 challenges. Please come here, ma'am. No, you have to come.
She can stand there.
Please introduce yourself and please. Lack of convergence, very good point. And anybody from team A?
The more point you give, the more point you get.
Lack of monitoring also at field level.
Lack of monitoring at the field level. Any more from team A? Not ma'am, but any other voices? Done?
That's one of the poor infrastructure that we have in the different level.
Infrastructure of?
Poor infrastructure.
Poor infrastructure.
Responsibility.
Poor infrastructure. Accountability. Team B, we can move to team B.
Fun constraint.
Fun constraint. Anything else?
Another one could be like lack of information that we have such development goals to be achieved. In rural pockets of India or in our state, many of the people don't know. So to say, even those who are staying in Shillong, they don't know. And I bet like even in planning level also, some might not be knowing like how we are able to achieve it.
Excellent point. Lack of awareness. Next.
Lack of commitment in implementing.
Lack of commitment.
On whose side? Just elaborate.
Some more?
Road connectivity. I mean, the farm road is to the rural areas, the interior areas.
Yeah.
And the schemes.
Connectivity issues.
Okay. Any more points? You can.
Corruption.
Corruption. At all levels. No, I'm just asking, just elaborate the point.
Wonderful.
So these are all your answers, not ours.
So, sir, now.
I think, all those points are very relevant. But, working with the government, the different state governments and also the national government, what we have realized is one of the key challenges is lack of reliable and timely data. So, any decisions that you make, you need to have reliable and timely data. For example, even bringing out, Northeast SDG district index.
Last question.
Across all the 8 state governments here in the Northeast and more than 120 districts. It's been so challenging for us. Now, once the data is available, then the policy makers are able to see where are the gaps, and accordingly, they can devise relevant schemes so that those gaps can be bridged. So, one of the most critical challenges or obstacles for achieving SDG is basically lack of reliable and timely data. But whatever points that you have said, those are also very, very relevant. Lack of convergence, yes, convergence, coordination. So left hand doesn't know, what right hand is doing, right hand doesn't know what left hand is doing. So SDG basically, encourages that kind of interaction, interactivity. So if you ask me to score, let me be, very frank with you that, I can't say that, group A is the winner or group B is the winner, because the points that you have mentioned are, relevant points. So I can divide the score into 10, 10.
Yes, great. 10, 10. Thank you, sir. Last question.
One more question.
There one more.
There's one more.
Last question. Last question bonus points maybe. Could you 50 plus 50? Plus 50.
Plus 50.
Last question.
Last question.
So last question, mega jackpot question for 50 points. So this is.
And you have to be loud and right. Okay.
The indicator percentage of births attended by skilled health personnel is linked to which SDG target? 3.1, 2.1, 15.1.
3.1.
So.
And your answer? Loud. What did you say? 3 point? They are saying 3.1. So what is your answer? 2.1. 2.1. Okay. Now what is the right answer?
3.1. So SDG goal 3 is good health and well-being.
Yes. 3.1 was the right answer. Okay. I don't have to do it total now.
I think it's very clear. The winners are Group B. But we have another quiz in the post-lunch session. So Team A can also back up. But congratulations to Team B.
Yes. We are waiting for the response.
मुझे तो पता नहीं ग्लोबल एमपीआई है
in the last presentation that you made, you are most welcome to ask questions. Otherwise, we will show you one small video clip on multidimensional positive index. The session which we will take it in the afternoon.
साउंड का देखना होगा साउंड का देखना होगा
I want the laptop to change. Yes. Do you have your laptop?
Okay.
Question.
When you showed the Meghalaya region, there was nothing mentioned in goal number 14.
Oh, that's a very good question. You want to follow up more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is the goal number 14 only for marine or life under ocean, or we are also talking about the nature ecosystem present in the rivers and ponds in Meghalaya?
Yeah, so that's a very valid question actually. So goal 14 currently only coastal states, but MoSPI has decided that only coastal states we will monitor now because it talks about oceanic, mostly oceanic life, maritime life. So that's why, in fact, that is somewhat, that is a loophole, I'd say, that we need to also have inland water ecosystem that need to be monitored. Currently, goal 14 only addresses ocean life. So that's why it's not for Meghalaya, it's mostly for coastal states now. Coastal states.
Can you add this speakers?
In a world of increasingly complex challenges like climate change and rising inequality, people are deprived in many interconnected ways. Our approach must be multidimensional. The Global Multidimensional Poverty Index complements monetary poverty by providing information for poverty reduction policies where they are most needed. Many groups who might not be income poor can, in fact, be multidimensionally poor, impacted by deprivations, such as lack of access to electricity. To make sure we don't leave anyone in those groups behind, it is crucial that they are counted. Produced by the UNDP's Human Development Report Office and the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, the MPI is made up of 10 weighted indicators grouped in 3 dimensions: health, education, and living standards. A person like Deepa is considered multidimensionally poor if they are deprived in a third or more of the weighted indicators. The MPI resembles a stack of deprivations, and the goal is to reduce that stack to zero. The global MPI shows where poverty hits hardest and how people are poor to better tackle the drivers of poverty, so that policymakers can allocate budgets, coordinate departments, and track progress towards reducing poverty for a better and more inclusive future.
This was a movie about the multi-dimensional poverty index, which we'll do after lunch, and we can take a break of 1 hour. That will be enough for lunch break. Okay, so we'll meet at around 2 to 2:15. Okay, and the lunch will be served in some time. They are stuck, so you can all just take a walk for 5-10 minutes. Okay, it will be served on the same hall.